demand for ethical and faith-based financing, the government is considering the introduction of sukuk instruments. These Sharia-compliant securities, which are structured on asset-backed or asset-based principles, will enable the government to access liquidity from Islamic finance markets. This will not only expand the investor base to include investors with Sharia compliance mandate, but also promote financial inclusion and contribute to the deepening of domestic and international capital markets. Collectively, these initiatives underscore a forward-looking and proactive approach to public debt management, one that emphasizes innovation, prudent risk management, and alignment with both domestic development priorities and evolving global financing trends. Mr. Speaker, to further strengthen transparency, coordination, and efficiency in the implementation of externally funded projects, the National Treasury has spearheaded the development of the Development Project Management Information System. This innovative digital platform will serve as a centralized repository for real-time tracking of project implementation, monitoring of disbursement, and alignment of outcomes with national development priorities. By enhancing project oversight and accountability, this system represents a significant step towards ensuring that externally mobilized resources are utilized effectively and that every shilling delivers value for money and tangible impact for our citizens. Let me now talk about public-private partnership framework. Mr. Speaker, the scale of Kenya's development ambitions demands that we leverage not only public resources, but also the capital, innovation, and expertise of the private sector. Public-private partnerships have therefore become a central pillar of our development financing strategy. Beyond mobilizing additional resources, public-private partnerships enable the government to harness private sector innovation, technical expertise, operational efficiency, and risk-sharing arrangements that enhance project delivery while preserving fiscal sustainability. Mr. Speaker, the government continues to strengthen the public-private partnerships program as a key instrument for delivering strategic investments under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. In this financial year, we have so far mobilized approximately 96 billion private capital investment in PPPs. This being the CRBC/NSSF investment for the Rironi Gilgil, which is A8, and Nairobi Maimayu Naivasha A8 South, sections of the Nairobi Nakuru Mau Summit Highway. Building on this momentum, the government targets to mobilize at least 70 billion through PPP investments in the financial year 26-27 across the energy, transport, water, housing, health, and digital infrastructure sectors. Mr. Speaker, other priority projects besides the Nairobi-Nakuru Mau Summit project include the Nairobi-Mombasa Expressway and the Mau Summit-Eldoret-Malaba Highway, which will strengthen regional connectivity and facilitate trade along the northern corridor. Mr. Speaker, in ports and logistics, the government is leveraging private sector capital and expertise for the development of container terminals, cargo berths, inland container depots, and special economic zones in Mombasa, Lamu, Nairobi, and Naivasha, strengthening Kenya's position as the region's leading trade and logistics hub. Mr. Speaker, in the energy sector, priority investment include the High Grand Falls hydropower project, expected to generate 700 megawatts, and the Karura hydropower project, expected to generate an additional 90 megawatts. Together, these projects will add approximately 790 megawatts of clean and reliable power to support industrialization, digital transformation, and emerging technologies. These investments will be complemented by strategic transmission infrastructure projects to strengthen and expand the national grid. Mr. Speaker, in the water sector, the government is advancing key dam projects, including Radat Dam, Barsalinga Dam, Lowat Dam, and Soin Koru Dam, which will enhance water security, irrigation, food production, and climate resilience in some of the country's most water-stressed regions. Mr. Speaker, in the ICT sector, the Kenya National Data Center, PPP, and the Konza Data Center project will strengthen Kenya's digital infrastructure, support data sovereignty, and position the country as a leading digital and innovation hub in the East African region. Mr. Speaker, together these projects represent investment valued at over $10 billion and will support economic growth, improve service delivery, create jobs, and strengthen Kenya's productive capacity. Mr. Speaker, to accelerate project origination and preparation, The National Treasury has established a framework for rapid results initiative, bringing together ministries, departments, and agencies to identify, develop, and fast-track investment opportunities in priority beta sectors. Mr. Speaker, the National Treasury is also at the tail end of finalizing all the required PPP regulations and guidelines to fully operationalize the PPP Act. This is in addition to the recently issued circular on mandatory disclosure requirements for all privately initiated proposals. These circulars aim to enhance uniformity, transparency, accountability, and build public trust by enabling timely disclosures, integrity, and standard reporting. Mr. Speaker, as we expand the PPP program, we remain committed to increasing the participation of Kenyan enterprises, investors, and financial institutions to promote local ownership, domestic value creation, and reduce foreign exchange risk. In this regard, the National Infrastructure Fund will play a key role in mobilizing long-term domestic capital and supporting local participation in infrastructure financing. Mr. Speaker, our pension funds, insurance companies, SACCOs, and retail investors will increasingly have opportunity to participate in strategic national investments, ensuring that the benefits and returns generated by these projects accrue to Kenyan citizens while supporting long-term economic transformation. And Mr. Speaker, by mobilizing domestic savings and channeling them into productive investment, we are creating a model of growth that is owned, financed, and sustained by Kenyans. Kenya is not just open for business. Kenya is investing in itself. Now let me turn to resource allocations. Mr. Speaker, over the past 3 years, we have laid a firm foundation for inclusive growth. For financial year 2026-2027, the financial year 2026-2027 builds on those gains and advances the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. The administration's core economic strategy aligned with the fourth medium-term plan of Vision 2030. Better focuses public resources on unlocking productivity and increasing incomes at the base of the economy through deliberate, value chain-driven allocations. And with limited fiscal space, this budget prioritizes interventions that deliver the greatest impact in job creation, higher household incomes, and broader economic participation. Agricultural transformation and inclusive growth as the first pillar. Mr. Speaker, agriculture remains central to better and Kenya's long-term prosperity. It supports more than 2/3 of Kenyan households and generates significant employment multiplier effects, especially among groups historically excluded from modern economic opportunities. Strengthening agriculture is therefore essential food and nutrition security, enhancing resilience, and promoting a shared prosperity. Mr. Speaker, to accelerate agriculture transformation, I propose, and bearing in mind that agriculture is largely devolved, but I propose a targeted allocation of 64 billion across priority programs that boost productivity, value addition, and resilience. Key investments include 18 billion for fertilizer subsidy program, 2 billion for seed subsidy program, 1 billion for coffee seedlings program to lower input costs for smallholders, 4.7 billion for the National Agricultural Value Chain Development Project to advance processing and market linkages. Further, I propose 5.4 billion for the Food System Resilience Project and 1.6 billion for the Resilience for Food and Nutrition Security Program to enhance adaptive livelihoods, diversify income sources, and reduce vulnerability to climate shocks. Mr. Speaker, recognizing the economic potential of pastoral and livestock systems, I propose 3.3 billion for de-risking, inclusion, and value enhancement of pastoral economies program, 1.3 billion for Kenya Livestock Commercialization Program, and 400 million for the Livestock Value Chain Support Project. These allocations will foster greater market access, commercialization, animal health services, and resilience among pastoral communities. Mr. Speaker, the blue economy offers meaningful opportunity for coastal and lakeside communities. To support the growth of the blue economy, I propose 8.2 billion for the blue economy and fisheries subsector, which includes 2.1 billion for aquaculture business development project, 1.8 billion for the Kenya Marine Fisheries and Socio-Economic Development Project, and 578 million for Kabonyo Fisheries and Aquaculture Training Center. These investments will expand sustainable aquaculture, uplift fisher folks' incomes, and create jobs in value addition and logistics. Mr. Speaker, addressing historical land inequalities remains a priority for this government. To promote equitable access and ensure sustainable land management, I am proposing 9.4 billion for settlement of the landless. Of this amount, 5 billion is for the landless in the coast region. 892 million for the processing and registration of title deeds, and 388 million will go towards digitization of land registries to secure tenure, reduce disputes, and unlock productive land use. Now let me turn to the second pillar, that is transforming the micro, small, and medium enterprises economy. Mr. Speaker, MSMEs are the backbone of our economy. They account for 98% of businesses, provide approximately 14.9 million jobs, and contribute about 40% to our GDP. They span informal home-based enterprises, artisans, mechanics, tailors, carpenters, fabricators, and medium-sized firms. Nurturing this sector is essential for broad-based job creation and inclusive growth. Mr. Speaker, lack of affordable credit remains a major constraint for MSMEs and households at the bottom of the pyramid. To address this, I propose 550 million for the Center for Entrepreneurship project to strengthen incubation, skills, and business development services, and 1.1 billion for rural Kenya financial inclusion facility to expand credit access and financial services to underserved communities. Housing and settlement as the third pillar. Mr. Speaker, decent housing underpins social stability and economic productivity. Our affordable housing program not only provides safe and affordable homes to Kenyans, but also generates jobs directly in construction and indirectly across building materials and services sector. To sustain this momentum, I propose 143.7 billion for the housing sector, urban development, and public works subsectors. This package will include 18.6 billion under the Kenya Urban Program, 50.6 billion for construction of affordable housing units, 20.9 billion for social housing units, and 20.2 billion for the institutional housing, and 18.2 billion for critical social and physical infrastructure. Further, support will include 2.7 billion for the Kenya Informal Settlement Improvement Project Phase 2 and 535 million targeted to support construction of county headquarters. These investments will improve living conditions, provision of services, and local governance capacity. Mr. Speaker, to protect livelihoods or lives and property through compliance with building codes and standards, I propose 2.4 billion for the regulation and development of the construction industry, thus reinforcing safety, quality, and accountability across the sector. Allow me now to turn to the other pillar, that is universal health coverage. Mr. Speaker, universal health coverage, UHC, is central to Better's social contract. Equitable access to quality health services is essential for human capital, productivity, and poverty reduction. Towards this end, I have proposed 177.2 billion to the health sector to advance UHC and strengthen essential services. Key allocations include 8.6 billion salaries for UHC staff, 19.1 billion for primary healthcare fund to finance frontline services. Mr. Speaker, to reduce the burden of communicable diseases and advance immunization, I am proposing 18.5 billion for the Global Fund and 6.4 billion for vaccines and immunization program. This investment will protect children and communities and reduce health-related economic shocks. Mr. Speaker, tackling cancer and other chronic illnesses requires focused investment. I propose 3 billion to the Emergencies, Chronic and Critical Illness Fund, 1 billion for construction of a cancer center at Kisii Level 5 Hospital, 300 million to strengthen cancer management in Kenyatta National Hospital, and 150 million for the expansion of comprehensive cancer center at Kenyatta University Teaching Referral and Research Hospital. These measures will expand diagnostic and treatment capacity across the region, given that we are leading as a leading hub in terms of health in this region. Mr. Speaker, to improve tertiary healthcare, I propose 45.3 billion for our referral hospitals. Additional targeted investments will include the following: 470 million for the construction of Kenyatta National Hospital Burns and Pediatric Center, 300 million for renovations and replacement of obsolete equipment at Kenyatta National Hospital, and 2 billion for construction of a new 2,000-bed multi-speciality at Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital to expand capacity and improve health outcomes. Mr. Speaker, to ensure reliable supply chains and strengthen human resources, I am proposing 20.9 billion for Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, KEMSA, 3.1 billion for the Kenya Medical Research Institute, 1.3 billion for the Integrated Reproductive Health Program, 500 million for family planning and reproductive health commodities, and 600 million for equipment at the National Blood Transfusion Services. Mr. Speaker, as a country, we value the services offered by our health workers. To build workforce capacity, I propose 9.3 billion for medical interns, 10.9 billion for the Kenya Medical Training College, and 3.2 billion and 396 million for stipend and medical insurance for community health promoters, respectively. Under digital superhighway and creative economy, Mr. Speaker, digital transformation is a strategic enabler for competitiveness in the fourth industrial revolution. Digital connectivity and literacy are essential for education, healthcare, finance, market, public services, and emerging digital opportunities. Mr. Speaker, Kenya's creative economy, encompassing film, music, fashion, arts, medical, media, digital content, and design, has become a powerful engine for growth and youth empowerment. Investing in creative industries expands cultural exports and drives innovation. Mr. Speaker, to accelerate digital adoption and inclusion, I propose 8.6 billion Kenya shillings to this sector. And this will include 4.3 billion for Kenya Digital Economy Acceleration Project, 1.3 billion for maintenance and rehabilitation of national optic fiber backbone infrastructure, 528 million for maintenance and rehabilitation of last mile county connectivity, 309 million for government shared services, 382 million for the digital superhighway cybersecurity, 400 million for establishment of digital hubs, and 455 million for ICT infrastructure maintenance. Now let me move to infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, infrastructure is the backbone of economic transformation. It provides connectivity, energy, and water resources needed to power productive activities and sustain human settlement. By reducing transaction costs and opening markets, infrastructure investments deliver long-term value. Towards this end, I propose 220.4 billion for development of roads, including 44.3 billion to support construction of roads and bridges, 58 billion for rehabilitation of roads, and 118.1 billion for roads maintenance. This balance mix supports connectivity, freight, efficiency, and long-term road preservation. Mr. Speaker, to expand railway transport, I propose 38.4 billion for railway projects. Additionally, Kenya shillings 400 million is proposed for the Kenya ferry ramp in Likoni, Mombasa. Additional 1 billion for development of public ferry landing ramps in Lake Victoria, including Mbita and Sena Islands in Suba North and West sub-counties of Homa Bay County, respectively. 150 million for acquisition of public ferry in Lake Victoria, completing the purchase of public ferry for use in Lake Victoria. And 582 million for Nairobi Bus Rapid Transport Project, which is a critical public transport investment that will reduce congestion and enhance mobility. Mr. Speaker, reliable, affordable energy is vital for industry and households. I propose 30.9 billion to the energy subsector, including 7.5 billion for the national grid system, 20.2 billion for rural electrification, and 3.2 billion for alternative energy technologies. These allocations expand access, lower costs, and promote sustainable growth. But I wish to add that a lot of energy projects will be financed through National Infrastructure Fund because they are commercially viable. And I want to turn to education. Education. Yes, I'm turning now to education. Improving education outcomes. Mr. Speaker, Kenya's future depends on developing strong human capital. And to this end, we will continue to strengthen quality learning, training and research, promote equity and inclusivity, scale up investment in education, fortify the system against emerging technological and labor market shifts, as well as fortify education to industry linkages, thus ensuring skills match demand. Mr. Speaker, I propose 784.5 billion for the education sector. Mr. Speaker, a lot has been said about defunding education. But in 2026-27, we are proposing 784.5 billion shillings, which is 26.4% of the ministerial budgets. Compare that to 2021-2022 budget before this administration came into office. The budget for education was 526 billion shillings. That has increased now by 49%. And it was 24.5% of the ministerial budget. Now it is 26.5% of the ministerial budget. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, it is not correct that this government, this administration is defunding education. In fact, we are funding it more. So this 784.5 billion includes Kenya shillings 424 billion to Teacher Service Commission for payment of our teachers. And that has moved from 290 billion in 2022 to now 421 billion shillings. Basic education is now 136. I'm proposing 136.6 billion. Compare that to 107 billion in 2022. 163.9 billion for higher education, which was 105 billion in 2022. 1.3 billion for science, innovation and research, and 58.5 billion for technical, vocational education and training. This comprehensive allocation safeguards service delivery and expands opportunities across the learning continent. Mr. Speaker, within this funding to the education sector, I propose 7 billion for free primary education, 54.6 billion for free day secondary education, and 30.7 billion for junior secondary school capitation. Those two lines, the free day secondary education 54.6 plus junior secondary education of 30.7 adds to a total of 85.3 billion. What was it in 2022? In 2022, it was 62.4 billion shillings. I also propose 9.9 billion for administering national exams, and that is in addition to what we have just provided before the end of this year to pay the arrears of 1.5 billion to teachers. So teachers who marked exams, they will be paid before the end of this financial year, 1.5 billion. 3 billion for school feeding program. Again, this school feeding program in 2022 had 2.2 billion. Now it is 3 billion. Mr. Speaker, I am proposing 4.9 billion to be provided for conversion of 20,000 intern teachers into permanent and pensionable from January 2027. Further, the newly recruited 24,000 intern teachers will be converted into permanent and pensionable terms in July 2027. In this respect, I am proposing an allocation of 8.2 billion for intern teachers to address staffing gaps and improving learning outcomes. Mr. Speaker, this government, by the time we reach next year, we will have employed